All right, cool. All right, guys, what is up? Tom Wedding back here again in the Scale Hacks group. It's been a while since I've done it on one of these live streams, but today I have Gary with me here, king of link building, honestly. I see you pop up everywhere. All your ads pop up on my feed for link building and stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Gary, feel free to jump in and introduce yourself.
Cool. Yeah. So nice to see you all, guys. Yeah. So I run a company called now Get Me Rankings. It was called Get Me Links. I've been in the SEO world for a number of years. If you've not seen me around, yeah, rank my own stuff, own affiliate sites, own local stuff, and I've obviously got the link building and content company Get Me Rankings. So yeah, excited to be on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good. Great to have you on. I think a lot of people struggle with this topic of link building. They have just no idea what to do, right? Especially the beginners coming into the space. They're like, what the heck is link building?
Yeah.
And they don't really realize the importance of it, especially in what we do. Mainly this group's focused around the rank and rent space, local rankings kind of thing. And so, yeah, links are definitely an important part of SEO, and I think a lot of people struggle with understanding it as beginners coming into this space. So maybe, yeah, just jump in and kind of give a brief, for someone who's a beginner jumping in, what is link building? Like, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, link building is pretty much I believe is like the number one vote for a website ranking in Google. It's been a factor, I suppose, since really the start of SEO, even before I got into it. And I would say that the reason I got really, really into it from an early stage is because I quickly understood that it's pretty much the main thing you can do to really shift the needle on a website, especially when you're in kind of competitive spaces, because it really is just like people voting for your website. And it does, once you understand it at a high level, it is really just a numbers game. So obviously link building is this huge topic because there's like hundreds of different subtypes of links and people really confuse it and overcomplicate it. But I kind of say to people is just to keep it really, really simple. Look at some very basic, simple metrics. And just they are always going to be important no matter what site you're building. I highly recommend links, but they're definitely more needed in competitive spaces than non-competitive spaces. There's still sites that you don't need many links for, again, because competition don't have many links.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Definitely makes sense. It's a huge part of SEO. I think links are definitely one of the main off-page things. So it's important to note about it. And so with link building, what would you say is like the biggest types of links that are most important let's talk mainly around the local SEO space, right? Ranking for local search terms. What's the best types of links to obtain for that?
For sure. So I mean, the best type of links ultimately are the links that similar to what your competitors are building. So, a lot of people come in and they're like, oh, you need to build guest posts or you need to build PBNs. Like, yes, but very often people come in with a very basic overview and don't build links that are in their niche. There's sometimes, like, if you enter the local space, for example, the legal space, some of the best power punching links you'll get in that space will probably be specific lawyer directories or local citations from particular websites that those lawyers are actually placed on, because that semantically from Google's point of view looks right. If you're a company and you're not you're in America and you're a legal company and every other lawyer site is registered in this one lawyer institution or directory, if you're a lawyer you'd just be on this site, and your site comes in and all you're doing is PBNs and you're not on this site that everyone else is on, it's going to look really fishy. So really the best types of links that someone can build, especially in local, is to start out and just do competitor analysis, see what other people have got, and start to get most of those links. Not only that, those links are usually going to be free or easy to achieve because everyone's got them, and it's probably going to be the best types of links you build. After you've done that, after you built that sort of base of kind of natural links, I would say you're moving on to then building more authoritative links like PBNs, guest posts, and stuff like that. We can talk about that in a second.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely a good place to start, is just look at what your competitors are doing. Not just with links as well. I think with everything, right? With their whole SEO, what are they doing?
Content.
And how you can, yeah, exactly. How can you do better, do one better, right? And
exactly.
that's really an important place to start. So yeah, great advice there. Also, I wanted to ask you about, this whole thing about relevance and then also authority in links, right? And I have a lot of people ask me like, oh, what's better? Obviously both is better in any case, right? But if you can choose between relevance or authority, which is more powerful to the site?
Sure. I would say like relevance over the last like number of years has become more and more of a factor, but it's kind of like you always need to tick the box with authority. So like building relevant, let's go for a metric like domain rating, for example. So go for really relevant links, but you're building domain rating 2 links. It's not going to do very much, right? But I would rather probably have extremely relevant topical links that are about my niche over just building flat out authority links. If I'm going to sacrifice ever having relevancy for my own site, it's going to be in a very rare case where I'm maybe getting an extremely authoritative link, like a Forbes link or something like some massive publication. But for the most part, I'm always going to work in relevancy. It not only does it pass a lot of juice, it really tells Google what you're trying to rank about, because it can look, Google looks not just at your website to understand what you're trying to rank for, but it looks at the links coming in. So it's a little bit like this. Like if I drew like a house on a piece of paper, right, and that's your website, so Google understands, okay, this is a house. This is based on what's on your website. Tells Google it's a house. It's got windows. It's got a door, and that's a house. What can sometimes happen if you build non-relevant links is you start to add things to the house which could change the whole way that Google looks at it. So for example, let's say I take that what looks like a house and I start putting in office chairs and in a car park and all this stuff. All of a sudden the whole concept of this house changes, and it now you could see it as an office building. So it can really confuse Google almost at what your site's about by adding more stuff, i.e. adding bad non-relevant backlinks can really confuse Google about what your site's about. So I would always recommend people to get relevant, but obviously if you're just building relevant links and not thinking about authority, that's completely retarded too. So you need to have a mix, but relevance is always going to be, like, for the next number of years anyway, it's probably going to be continue to be a extremely important factor to work in.
Yeah, definitely. So relevance at the top and then authority, but obviously both are important. You need to mix it up. That makes a lot of sense. Definitely. Yeah. So like, do you have anything else you kind of want to share around link building? I know I'm kind of run out of questions right now, so feel free to jump in
No,
and,
for
and
sure.
share anything.
Yeah, like there's so many different types of links people can build after, obviously, like after you built your sort of base your base level of links that we spoke about. So for any website, there's some different other types of links that you can build. So when you're trying to scale a website and take it to the next level, what you're trying to build is authority, and there's a number of ways you can do that. It's going to be through things like that. Some of the most popular types of links are going to be like guest posts, niche edits, PBNs, which are, for people who don't know, you basically buy an old domain name that has links going to it already, you repurpose that, and you use that for power. So these are going to be some of the most kind of authoritative sites you can get, and the main metrics you want to look at probably for these types of links are going to be things like DR, domain rating, and traffic is a great one to look at, because if you think about it from a backlink perspective, if you have a link from a website that's already getting traffic on Google, it's a very good way of validating that the links and all the stuff that that website has is good because Google's giving it traffic, right? So I would really like, if you could really like come in and just build backlinks that have lots of traffic, that's going to be a pretty good chance that you're building a great backlink profile by just focusing on that kind of one main metric. A lot of people get really hung up with like, oh, how many referring domains, does this site have, and everything. That stuff is great for analysis, but if the site has tons of traffic, probably going to be a good link to work in. And if it's relevant, the page that's linking to your page is relevant, that's fantastic. That's really all I'm looking for in every kind of backlink I would be building when I'm trying to scale up the authority of a website.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of like checking those metrics, what do you use? What do you find is the best tool? I know obviously all tools are like slightly inaccurate. They're not totally accurate. And that's
Sure.
totally fine. But like, what would you recommend in terms of the best tools to use to check those kind of metrics, domain authority, all that stuff?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and there's all sorts of different ones. The one I use mostly is a tool called Ahrefs. It has a metric called domain rating. It's got traffic on there, backlinks, all the data. The reason I use Ahrefs is because statistically it is the best at crawling the most backlinks. So it has actually the most data out of all the tools. But there's tools like SEMrush now that are doing a really, really good job at crawling information in comparison to Ahrefs. So I'm not so used to their interface, so I don't really use it myself at the moment. But SEMrush is a great competitor to that. There's also a tool called Majestic SEO, which I used to use. I kind of stopped using that more because the data is not as good. It doesn't have anywhere near the amount of backlink data that Ahrefs has. So that's the main tools I recommend in terms of backlink analysis, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. I was actually using Mangles as well. That's all right. But
Yeah.
again, nowhere near as good as Ahrefs because of the amount of data points they have to go off. So yeah, definitely
Right.
Ahrefs I think is a good tool for sure.
For sure.
So in terms of, I guess local link building, if you had to
Yeah.
give like a game plan, right, to go from like wherever they are right now, page 10 or whatever, to ranked number one with just doing link building, what would that kind
Yeah.
of strategy look like start to finish for you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, you're not like link building's not going to work if the on-site isn't right. Like, you really need to tick the box with on-site. But if I'm just focusing on link building, the first month I'm going in, I'm doing my competitor research. I'm going to go and see exactly all the links they've got, the semantic stuff we we're talking about earlier. I'm going to go and do that. Land those links month one. Those are the safest, smartest links I can build almost on a new website or a new business, so to speak. I'm then going to probably order like a citations package from somewhere. There's a lot of different services that do that. Citations Builders, one I know that I use myself. All sorts of different ones. So you go and get a citations package, and I'm probably going to leave the site for a couple months just to index and just see how it goes from there. By that point, you'll be hoping to be within, the top few pages anyway. At that point, I'm really going to start to analyze as well how many backlinks do the guys in the first page have. So a lot of people, they go into link building, and it's a bit like some people spend tens of thousands of pounds, not really for local, but more for like affiliate guys. They spend tens of thousands of pounds in link building, and they have no plan. It's like you wouldn't spend 10 or 20,000 pounds on a house without planning permission or like some form of idea as to how much the renovation is going to cost. But people will go in and just spend 10 grand on links and with no plan. So I really recommend, before anyone even does a project, to actually go and properly analyze what's on the first page of Google, see how many backlinks these guys have, see how much content these guys have on their site, and get an idea. Okay, these guys have 50 backlinks and 20 articles on their website. I don't know how to analyze that like for like, but I know that it's not going to probably cost me 100 grand to beat them, right? So at least you're going in at the start and with a plan, right? And that's probably the most important bit after that. And then from there, I'm just going to execute that plan. So I might work out that I need another 50 backlinks, and I'll decide, okay, how quick do I want to build the 50 backlinks over? 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, how fast do I want to take this project and build that? And then I'll do a very stable velocity from there to build up towards that. So 50 backlinks over 6 months, like 7 links a month or something. That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
So that would be my full ranking plan for like a local site or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. And I find, would you say as well, I mean, obviously, right, with local, you don't need anywhere near as many links as like a national or an affiliate site. So definitely makes it a bit easier there. But yeah, I think it definitely does all start with the competitor research. So you're saying do the competitor research, work out what they're doing, how many links they have, and then kind of make a game plan from there of how many links you think you're going to need, what authority, what relevance, and all that kind of stuff. And then you kind of just go and implement on that, right? So yeah, that's pretty much that. I mean, do you have anything else you want to share around link building or anything while we're here? Yeah, feel free to jump in and.
Yeah, well, we can talk like for 5 minutes on affiliate. So affiliate's a bit of a different play to probably local. So local, if you're doing like what we're probably talking about, there's like more of a sniper site. So we're coming in and going like, oh, I want to get Los Angeles roofers, right? And we're coming in and we're trying to analyze how many links does everyone else have that's a Los Angeles roofer site. Affiliate's a bit of a different world, because with something like affiliate or e-commerce, you're not just dealing with understanding how many links to build to one page. You're actually doing it for multiple pages. So with affiliate, what you really need to look for is the overall authority for competitors that are in your space. So what you might work out looking in, let's say you're in the golf niche for affiliate or e-commerce, you're in the golf niche. What you'll probably want to do is figure out, okay, how much links does the overall golf sites have? Okay. And how authoritative are they as a whole? And then for each page that I'm trying to rank, how many links do the competitors have for that? Right. And if you get really, really good at understanding what good backlinks are like, what bad backlinks are like, looking at the right metrics, so some of those metrics like DR, the traffic, the amount of referring domains that different links have, once you kind of analyze that to a good level, you're going to really have an idea is not just how many links you need to build to the home page in the entire site, but how many to actually link to individual pages. Like doing kind of semantic analysis like that, if you're not and you're trying to rank a site, I just think so stupid, because it's like, I want to know up front, like SEO is going to kind of you don't know it. You're never going to know exactly, but I like to go know up front. SEO's gonna kind of cost me this. You know, I mean, it's not like a case where I'm jumping in and I'm like, because I did this early on with some of my first sites, and I didn't have the money to complete the projects, built them, started building backlinks, and I spent at the time a few $1,000s, which was a lot of money to me. The site wouldn't rank, and I'd be like, oh, soon I'd realize from my stupidness that actually I probably needed 10 grand. This was a really hard niche I entered, and this site is basically just dead, you know, because if you don't get on page one, it pretty much makes nothing. So it's an all or nothing situation. So you really need to know what the hell you're going in for with SEO, you know. I
Definitely.
advise anyone who doesn't really know how to rank to stick to kind of stuff like local. Um, it's a great, especially doing local clients, or if you're trying to just rank your own stuff, stick to doing actual local websites, because it's going to be a million times easier. You're knocking out third graders when you're doing that. If you're entering affiliate spaces, e-commerce stuff, you're going in with the big boys. You know, I know some people spending 100 grand a month in just backlinks to on their website. You know, it's like you're going into niches where there's big dogs like that really know what they're doing, that have serious budgets and are already making serious budgets, and you're going up against that. So just be good at analysis. I think you need to be a really good data person, or start to become a bit of a data person if you're really going to go into SEO at that level. And focus on the numbers is really my advice to anyone that's trying to rank anything in an SEO world.
Yeah, definitely. I have another question actually. With the whole process, right? Because obviously people don't want to be doing all this stuff themselves. They don't want to be learning everything themselves. So in terms of like, outsourcing, I know that's definitely an option. You can outsource your links. But in terms of like that first little piece, that competitor analysis, that working out the process, can that
Yeah.
be systemized? Would you say that that part of the process can be systemized to outsource?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, I wouldn't really do a lot of that myself. What I might do is I might do some of the research myself on the links, not so much because I have to, but more because I kind of want to know going into the space what kind of links people have, so that I know what to build going forward, just from an idea perspective. But I would come in, spend an hour looking at the links, and then I would outsource that instantly. I would have a virtual assistant or someone else go out there and actually do that. There's maybe people in Fiverr you can get, just to get creative. For me, I've got 12 VAs that work for me, so I would just give it to one of them, and they would go out and complete all the work. And just report back to me, got this link, got this link, got it. They would figure out how to get those links. You know what I mean? The ones I wanted. Some of them I might not be able to get because I'm entering the solicitor space, and you need to actually be a solicitor to get this one, But they'll go out and find out all the information. I'm not sitting there building these links. I used to do that when I first started, but it's not even worth it for a beginner. Like, you're literally doing work that somebody in India or the Philippines who's very qualified could probably do it a lot faster as well than you, who's done it before and can do it for a very, very cheap price. You need even at an early stage, to some capacity, to learn to outsource, because at the end of the day, even when you're a beginner, there's still work that it is a lower pay grade than you, and finding how to build those wee basic links at the start is something that really you can get someone else to do at a much lower cost at any level.
Definitely. And would you say that for people who do want to go down that path of like finding a VA, would you say that they have to understand the process themselves first?
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, you have to understand what's going on. Like, if you're gonna do that, I think you should do it yourself once or twice first, because ultimately, like, to outsource things properly, you're going to need standard operating procedures, SOPs. So you're going to need to create training for these people to complete that work. For me, I have literally a course in my back end for my link building business. So we literally have a full course that new members of staff come in. It's like a $2,000 course. Almost like 20 videos or 30 videos now, I think. We constantly add to it. It's video format, text format, and it trains people on it up and everything. And the reason why we have that is because we can onboard people really, really easily without spending much time with them. And we don't forget to tell people things, and we don't need to answer the same questions. Like, every time we hire a new member of staff, and they ask a question and somebody else has asked it before, we just add a video to the course, and then there you go. The next guy that comes through is going to get that question answered in that video. We don't actually need to constantly be repeating the same things, because we have that. So real businesses, the real value is in that. It's in being able to systemize and scale, especially with an agency. It's the ability to get good at SOP. So I think even at a brand new early stage, I wish somebody had told me this, because I spent years doing a lot of this crap when I could have been outsourcing it and leveraging my time a lot better. Because beginners do forget that you only do have so much brain energy in a day, and you need, even at the start, to be really, really good at picking what your battles are. There's people that can do things a lot more efficiently than you and a lot smarter than you, and utilize those people at a very low cost, like in the Philippines, like in India. That's, great places to hire local labor
Exactly.
staff.
Exactly. And yeah, I definitely know my audience as well is like, kind of divided in a way that, there are some people who want to go down the path of like learning how to do this themselves and then building that VA team and like making
Yeah,
those SOPs and so on and so forth, right? But then
yeah,
there is the other side of people who are not technical whatsoever. They have no interest in learning backlinking whatsoever at all. They don't have the skills to be able to hire the team of virtual assistants. That's when these kind of people are looking for outsourcing, right? And that's
right,
when your kind of service, the Get Me Links or Get Me Ranked, whatever you call it now,
yeah,
that's where that comes in, right? So maybe you could
right.
talk a little bit about that and in terms of how you could help those people with the backlinking side of things. Because again, I know a lot of people in this group who just don't want to get technical with things, and so
For
that
sure.
could be a pretty good solution to bring up. So feel free to jump in
Yeah.
and explain that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, like what we do is we work with a lot of agencies or people trying to rank their own sites that don't want to do kind of that outsourcing themselves. Um, and basically, what we do is we have a huge team of people. We manage all of that. We build thousands of backlinks a month at this point. We also just started selling content services. So we've rebranded to Get Me Rankings as the brand because we're now selling content as well. And we also have this product called the Ranking Report, which actually does really good link analysis. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier, actually, about looking at what you need as compared to your competitions. We actually kind of act as a bit of an agency now, and we have this ranking report which allows us to analyze websites, tell people kind of what products they need to buy based on competition. So it's really, really good for someone who isn't technical, who just wants data-based information and what to do, and then we can fulfill the services for them, or they can go and do them somewhere else. But at least they know at that point, here's an estimate of what I need. What am I going in for? Because there's some people that come to us and they have a budget, $1,000 a month, but they get the report and we tell them actually it's going to take you $200,000 based on the competition to actually do this. You shouldn't really do these keywords, or maybe focus on this instead, or do this plan. And it means that people know up front what they're kind of going in for in terms of a cost to actually execute SEO. And I think that's where we've really got our edge, is in that I've been very good at it for years, actually ranking sites, and I've been able to take that knowledge and put it into a system that's allowed people to um, understand SEO, even if they are a beginner, based on kind of data that we bring together.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll leave a link to that if people want to check that out. That's definitely something that
Awesome, man.
I think is a useful option for people. But yeah, definitely for the other people who want to go down the VA, building the VA team, SOPs are the key to that, right? And that's really just
Oh yeah,
understanding the process yourself, learning what types of links there are, how to build each one of those links. And then from there, just creating standard operating procedures that really show and train VAs on how to do exactly what you do, right? And that way it's easy to outsource, easy to train up and hire. And things become a bit more of a breeze with outsourcing. So yeah, definitely think that's a bit of a good topic to talk about there as well. Is maybe virtual assistants and like hiring and training. I've had a lot of experience with doing that, and obviously you have as well.
yeah.
So yeah, feel free to jump in and kind of what's the best place you've found for finding these backlinkers, backlink virtual assistants.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, we use a lot of different places. The main one for our full-time staff, we use a service called onlinejobs.ph.
Yeah.
So for that type of work for outreach experts. So the way we do backlink building is we do manual outreach by email to website owners, and we place high authority backlinks that way. So we kind of need people who are really, really good at, or decent at English. So the Philippines is a great country where people are extremely qualified. A lot of people have this preconceived notion that people in other countries are not as smart. Like, actually, it's the complete opposite. Like, there's some people in the Philippines that I know that they're like, in some areas they're really much smarter than me. Like, they do things a lot more efficiently. They're a lot better. If you come into this world and think you're the guy and you're the smart man and you do everything yourself, it really is just arrogance. And the reason I say that is because I was the same way a couple of years ago. Like, there's people in the Philippines you can hire that are great, and we get most of our new virtual assistant employees from online jobs. They're fantastic, and basically I think you pay like a monthly subscription to put jobs up on there, and then you can basically just take the people right off, and it's great. So, and that, like, the I think I had a friend actually in London who has a big, multiple six-figure a month agency, and he has an office in London, and we're talking, and I worked out that I could have had seven of my VAs for the price of one of his fulfillment staff in the city center of London. So no matter, even if they were more stupid in the Philippines, and they're absolutely not, but even if they were, one person does never beats out seven people, right? So that's the reality of outsourcing. You can leverage that, and not only that, you like out there, if you give a virtual assistant an extra $100 a month, you actually change someone's life. You know what I mean? Like it's an incredible amount of money out there. $100. As within the USA, they're like, that's not enough. I'm going to, human resources. That's the kind of stuff you'll get out there. So you really want to be taking advantage of that, especially as a new entrepreneur. All of the top guys in the online world leverage virtual assistants to some kind of way. It just saves so much money, reduces your fixed costs, which is so important in the online marketing world. And it's just great to have that freedom as well, where you can travel and not need to have this office with all these people in it, and you've still got stuff happening all around the world at different time zones.
It just makes so much logical sense, It's so cheap for you, and it changes that person's life in their country because the wage you're paying them is
Right.
actually a lot of money over there, right? I have so
Yeah.
many VAs that I pay that are like so grateful for that opportunity, and it's like you
Yeah.
feel like you're paying them pennies, but in reality, that changes their life in such a huge way. And
Right.
so, yeah, 100%. If you're not leveraging VAs, I think you're missing a huge opportunity, because having an office with real people and people in your country where you have to pay them your wage, your currency, it gets very messy, right? And there's tax and all this other stuff you have to deal with. And so
Right.
leveraging that the online people is so much better.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely think people should be doing that. And in terms of like hiring, right? Let's talk a little bit about like the actual selection of the person that you hire. It's more specifically for link building, right? I know you
Yeah.
mentioned like guest outreach. That's mostly what you do.
Yeah.
So in terms of like hiring someone, would you hire someone who has previous experience with that? Because I've found that from my experience with hiring VAs, it's better to hire someone with no previous experience and kind of train them from
Right.
scratch. And that way
Yeah.
they kind of get more adjusted to your way of doing things, right? As opposed to like
Exactly.
doing it the way they previously learned. And so
Yeah.
what's kind of your thoughts around that?
Oh, I fully agree. Like I don't mind hiring people. So I like to hire people for this specifically with at least some very intermediary SEO knowledge, not specifically link outreach knowledge. That's usually bad to do that because they're usually stuck in their ways and it's not the way you want it. So I tend not to hire people with experience. I'm exactly the same as you, but I like people with some SEO knowledge. And the reason why I like that sometimes is just because there's a bit of a breakthrough that somebody who knows nothing about a search engine has to go through to understand, first of all, about results on Google and why getting at the top is important. And then they've got to understand that backlinks are these votes. And then they need to understand really what a link is, this thing they click. It's quite a lot for somebody to understand. It's probably another week or two of training just to kind of get somebody a bit more into the mix of it. So from that point of view, I like to have somebody that has some basic SEO knowledge or understanding, at least of online marketing at a high level. But we have hired people out of call centers, all sorts of places in the past, and they've been absolutely great. We'll really look at the person. And at this point, to be honest with you, I don't even know most of the names of the people, which it sounds awful, but it's true. At this point, I don't even do most of the hiring myself. It's done by a manager who does it all now. But it's so important to ensure that you're taking on people that are not kind of stuck in their ways, I would say, with an old process of some guy who probably didn't know what they were doing, and then comes to you and then kind of thinks the way they did it for 3 years is the best way, and all of a sudden everything's gone to crap. So I like to have that blank canvas most of the time, or if it's not a blank canvas, it's somebody who is sharp and could really twist your ways quite quickly, and we're having that conversation.
Exactly, definitely. And I'd say like the few key things I look for as well is like obviously English speaking, they have reliable internet, just like basic stuff, right? They obviously can speak to you professionally, because that's important. If you're doing guest outreach, you want that English that's proper. And then
Yeah.
just little things like that you want to pick up on. Instead of looking so much for like their technical abilities, look for more of like the basics, right? That really map out a good person for the role. And that's
Yeah,
that's kind of been my advice for picking VAs. But yeah, I think
for sure.
that's really simple. You know, it's finding the right type of person, training them up with your SOPs, and then get them rolling. And that's really the
Exactly.
easiest way to outsource. I think people overcomplicate it or think it's so complicated. Like, how do I pay them? And there's all these little issues that pop up. But it's like once you work it out with one VA, it's really, really duplicatable and becomes so much
Yeah,
easier from then on out. And this, for the guys that are watching this as well, there's a lot of people doing the rank and rent model. And that's kind of like the main space I'm in as well. And so basically this isn't just for link building either. This is for outsourcing for like site building and for, you know, content and all these other things that you got to do as well. You want to be getting someone onto those so that you can remove your time from them. Because again, the more time
for
you
sure.
spend doing those little tasks that can be easily outsourced, the less time you have to focus on the money making activities, right? Especially in this space, the
Yeah,
prospecting and sales is really where the money happens, right?
right.
Whether if you're doing affiliate, it's more in like making sales and ranking the site, so that's a bit more important. But with like the local space and rank and rent models more specifically, really it's about getting deals happening with business owners. And so if you're not
Right.
focused on that majority of the day, you're really missing out a lot of opportunities. So definitely outsource as soon as you can. And it's really as simple as that. Build your SOPs around knowing what the process looks like. So learn it yourself first, create that SOP, look for the right fit for the role, and then hire that person, train them up using those SOPs, and away you go. And that's really
Yeah.
that. I'll do a more in-depth video on that stuff to help you guys out with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate you jumping on, Gary. I think we'll kind of wrap it up here. I'll leave your link
Perfect.
to the to your stuff. So if anyone wants to outsource their stuff to you, they can have a check out of that.
Awesome, man.
And that's pretty much that. So yeah, appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you so much for having me, dude. It was nice to have a chat.
That was great to have you on, and think it's very useful video for people to watch. So yeah, appreciate it, man.
Awesome, dude. Thank you.
All right, I'll catch you later.
Catch you soon, buddy.